Hi everybody, welcome to our podcast. We've got a very special guest with us today, and that's Tony Archbold, who's the Senior Marketing and Sales Director of Holland America and Seabourn. Tony, welcome to South Australia. It's great to have you down, and you got through all the security today, and welcome, and it's nice to have you back. And you know, our relationship with Holland America and Seabourn go back so many years, and it's been a great relationship. So I thought it was a great opportunity today to talk to Tony about what's happened really over the last 18 months with cruising, but generally, and figuring also on what's happened with Holland America and Seabourn, because there has been a lot of action, a lot of things happening, and especially overseas for the 21 markets, been very busy on an overseas situation, not so much for Australia. But Tony, I'd love you to tell our listeners and our viewers what's going on with Holland America and Seabourn, and some of the exciting things that are coming up, because we're starting to see a strong demand now for going overseas with Holland America and Seabourn in 2022. So I'd love you to fill us in what's happened in those last 18 months, which have been dreadful 18 months for the cruise industry. Particularly for all of us in the business.
Well, thank you, Phil, for inviting me to come on. It's great to be here, and Phil Hoffmann Travel's been a great partner of ours, as you said, for a long time. We have a great relationship, and your team are amazing, so knowledgeable and so helpful and supportive, and we try and obviously do the same back likewise. Like yourself, I've been in the industry a long time. It's been about 40 years now, and of course, never seen anything like this, of course. But it's been an interesting time, and it's really been good to see how people have responded to what's going on in the world. We were talking earlier about how good businesses have survived and will thrive going forward, and I think Phil Hoffmann Travel is one of those great businesses, great partners who were a great business as well as a great travel agency prior, and will be so going forward. For us, it's been a time of discovery, I would probably say, a time of learning a lot about what people want and how we are to respond to this sort of situation. A big learning curve, and being able to act quickly because things have changed quickly. I joke around the office that everything we've done in the last 18 or 20 months now has been written in pencil, because you've got to be able to rub it out and do something different. But the team and the brands as a whole have responded remarkably well. We've come out of this as very strong brands. We're fortunate to be part of the big Carnival group, and that's been a real plus from a commercial perspective. But we haven't been sitting still. We've had to respond to the situations.
And certainly the big thing has been, how do you handle COVID? And the fear that COVID would get on a ship and etc. So you guys have worked hard on that in terms of setting up the protocols. Maybe a good chance to tell about some of the things you're doing in that area. And your ships have been out there sailing over the last 6-7 months.
Yes.
Which a lot of Australians believe that there's been no cruising in the world, but it actually has for the Americans and the Europeans. And your ships have been out there, and you've had a new berth as well.
We have. We started sailing in August and July and August for each brand, and it's been a good comeback. We've been in the Mediterranean and in the Caribbean, and now we're on the west coast of the US as the ships start heading towards. They'll be there now for the duration, the Mexican peninsula. The protocols, as I said earlier, are something that we've had to change quickly. We always had great health on board.
Yes.
The cleanliness was always first rate.
Tony, I always tell the story that I've been cruising for about 50 years in my life, and I've never lost a day from illness on a ship at any stage in those 50 years. So, like you say, they've always had a great track record.
You had to be unlucky prior. Well, it's going to be even a better experience from that perspective going forward. We've taken this opportunity to lift the bar even higher. As far as conditioning units, our cleaning protocols, our food service, the way we clean in our and make the rooms up, our staterooms up, our suites, it really lifted it to another level. Higher content of fresh air coming through, and in the way we repatriate the air through the system. All those things that we have done in response to this situation. We're also not at the mercy, but under the direction of the ports we travel into. Because every port will have slightly different arrangements and requirements. Wear a mask, don't have to wear a mask, whatever. All our crew and our guests are double vaxxed, so very safe on board. In fact, the comment's been made that probably the safest place to be in the world at the moment,
Absolutely,
apart from Adelaide, is on board a cruise ship.
And Tony, will we do PCR tests before we get on the
Yes.
ship as well?
Yes.
As well as being double vaccinated, but getting on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that, once again, it does vary on how far out that's got to be, depending on the port that you're sailing from.
Yes.
One thing about what today is true may not be true in 3, 4, 5, 7 months' time.
Correct.
Because it is changing quickly. And especially as the pharmaceutical companies improve their vaccinations. Now, the vaccinations we're getting now are slightly different than they were 6 months ago, because they are improving them forward, as they go forward as well.
That's fantastic, yeah.
You mentioned about a new berth.
Yes.
Very happy with Holland America Line. We've welcomed Rotterdam number 7 to the family.
And that's got a special ring, hasn't it?
Has got a very
your
special
history dates back
Absolutely.
to the Rotterdam,
That's
to
right.
Rotterdam itself, the city. And and I've been to a christening in Rotterdam.
We went together, didn't we?
Together with one of your ships, and it was an incredible experience to be there and to see the ship, brand new, and then to see and read in this last 18 months or 2 years that you've built Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Now, will that be the flagship of?
It is
yes.
the flagship, yes. So Rotterdam, the story of Rotterdam, Holland America is 148 years old. In October next year, 49th year, but it's 150th year since Rotterdam first sailed. The company wasn't incorporated until the following year in April 1873. So we've got a long history, we've got a lot of experience, and we're second oldest cruise line in the world. One of our sister companies takes the first place in that, is our friends at Cunard. But and so we've always had a Rotterdam in the fleet, so she's Rotterdam number 7. We've come a long way in those times, but she's a beautiful ship. The artwork, there's over $4 million of artwork on board. Some have come off previous Rotterdams that we've had for a while, but other is just brand new, and it is inspiring to see some of the art that's on board the ship. Absolutely inspiring.
So where will Rotterdam mainly sail, Tony, now that it's out there? Where will be the main areas? Will it stay in the Med, or will it do other areas, to Northern Europe and other areas?
A little bit of everything. So currently she's in the Caribbean. She's just arrived in the Caribbean for the summer, or for the northern summer. Yep. Sorry, our summer, their winter. Then she'll go back and she'll start in the Med, for the early season Med, and then she'll go up and sail out of Amsterdam actually. She'll be christened on the 30th of May next year in Rotterdam. We only just had that announced. Another member of the royal family will be christening. We've got a long history of that as well. And then she'll be doing the Baltic and Norwegian coastlines and those cruises for the season.
Tony, we've seen a big increase in bookings with Holland America in the last probably 2 to 3 months. It's certainly showing in the figures which Absolutely. You showed us today. Out of those figures, what would you say is the major destination that Aussies are wanting to go back to? And I know that's a difficult question to answer, because there's all these different areas they want to. But I think my smelling of the market is that the Med seems to be number 1 at the moment.
Europe, the Med is. Take me back tomorrow, please. There is always so much to see there. Yeah. The history, the culture. Yeah. You can never get bored of the Med. So that's been really, really popular. The Baltic as well has been extremely popular. We're seeing some good figures from Asia as well, and across the board from Asia. So that's slowly coming back.
And I think you mentioned today in a meeting that we may see Japan in 2022 coming back again, because our figures pre-COVID for Japan was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to leave one of those, and it didn't happen. But no, it's exciting that. And Tony, I must say that Holland America and Hoffmann Travel worked together to put back-to-back cruising in the Med and the Baltic and Norway and etc. And it became, like a brand together itself when our numbers were, as I said, pre-COVID were fantastic to have those back-to-back, because the average Aussie, when he goes away, doesn't go away for 2 or 3 weeks. They go away for 5 or 6. Right. So we were able to put some terrific programs with Holland America with back-to-back cruising, which was 21 days, 22, 24 days, and people just remember those days of when they were doing those sorts of cruises, and the amount of stopovers, destinations they saw in those times. Very successful for us.
Well, my wife and I were actually on one of the ships in the Med when one of your groups was on board a few years ago, having an absolute ball. So
no, it was great for us. Tony, we'll switch across now because you've got another shipping line that you look after, which is very luxurious, very upmarket, but terrific value as far as what it offers to everybody, and that is Seabourn. Tell us a little bit about Seabourn, what it represents in the marketplace, but also some of the things that Seabourn have been doing over this last 18 months, 2 years, because you've been very busy with some new ships.
It has been. So Seabourn is ultra luxury. She is the original ultra luxury brand in the world. So been around about 32, 33 years now. I think the appeal for the Australian market is it is relaxed country club ultra luxury. So there's no formalities on board. The service is absolutely, we call it intuitive service. Knowing what you want before you want it and giving it to you, and then you realise, hey, I wanted that. That was great. Incredible culinary offering on board. Itineraries are incredibly important in that market as well. So go to some of the great ports of the world, and because the ships are smaller too, go to some of the ports.
Really only 600 passengers?
Between 450 or 600, they're the two.
Yep.
Although that's about to change as well. So from the 1st of April next year, Seabourn Venture is launched. So it's moving into the expedition market. So 260 guests only on board.
Now tell me about Seabourn Venture, because I've been reading about it, but it's got some features that I think all our listeners and viewers would love to hear from you about Seabourn Venture.
She's a beautiful looking ship. She's got this deep green hull, designed by our expedition team actually, who basically were given the task of design the perfect expedition ship. So when you look at it, there's over 300 square metres of deck space. Because when you're cruising and a whale breaches, everyone wants to get outside and have a look, or a glacier calves, you want to get out there. So from pretty much every internal venue, you can walk straight out to a deck. There's 24 zodiacs on board, which means pretty much every guest can be in the water at one time. Not necessarily we'll do it that way, but sometimes we know if we've only got a short window of weather, we can get everyone out there quickly. And we have 2 6-berth submarines. And being Seabourn, of course, comes with a champagne chiller in it as well. But you've got big glass domes. They are so clear that everyone goes and tries to touch it because they can't see where the inside stops and the outside begins. I saw a video 2 weeks ago. We're doing some tests with it, and down goes to 300 feet down, so 100 metres down, and a pod of dolphins were swimming around outside. Unbelievable. Just beautiful.
So where will that mainly be? Will it be Antarctica, Arctic, and some of the other areas, Greenland, Iceland, and any other destinations that we're allowed to talk about?
Well, there's a few. So Seabourn Venture will come out, and she'll start with up to the Arctic, and do a season up there, then across to Iceland, Greenland. She'll do a cruise out of Reykjavik, which will go through Iceland, Greenland, the Canadian Arctic, and end up actually down in the Caribbean.
Wow.
And so you're going to get this fire and ice type scenario. She'll then make her way down to the Antarctic, and then on the way back, she'll go up the Amazon. But she won't stop at Manaus, she'll go all the way to Esquitos.
Wow.
So right up the river there before she heads back for the next season. And then Seabourn Pursuit comes out, that's the next sister ship, 12 months later. And between the two of them, you'll see Northwest Passage and Southeast Passage. You'll see some different approaches to the Antarctic as well, some things we've never done before. You might even see her in the local waters in here sometime soon too. So, look,
Tony, one of the things I love, and I've been on a couple of your Seabourns and experienced it, and what I love was the inclusivity of everything. That, all the drinks, everything was inclusive. And it really does make it very easy to mix with people at the bar before you go to dinner and all that. And it just sort of takes out any barriers of, last night you bought me a bottle of wine and tonight I better buy you a bottle and I've got to find you and make sure that I repay, sort of thing. Whereas that's all eliminates and it's
always my shout on Seabourn.
And you always ask before you get on, what are your favourite drinks, as far as the cabin is concerned or the suite is concerned. And I think it's just a lovely way of doing it that makes you feel. And my memory of Istanbul, getting on Seabourn at one stage in Istanbul, was all your staff lining up as we were about to board with their, tuxedos on, white gloves, and there was the champagne. As we entered the ship, got on and boarded, and you go, what a nice way of starting a trip. And one of the other things that I think I've learned through experience is that one was a very small cruise. I only had a certain amount of time, but never again would I do just a 7-nighter. I think you've got to, when you get on a Seabourn, is have 14, 21 days, really on any ship that you experience, so you get into what I call the rhythm of the ship, and Seabourn does it so well. And like you said, country club casual, it's got all the ingredients to give everyone a wonderful time. And I'll ask a general question, and it doesn't just apply to Seabourn or Holland America. I think we're seeing people, because we've been held back for nearly 3 years of cruising, people wanting to go longer for longer trips, and also go up in terms of the type of suites they're booking or cabins they're booking. And I think we're seeing that come out with some of our clients now.
Absolutely, we're seeing that. Is that by the time Australians start cruising internationally, it'll be 3 years at the earliest since they've cruised. So there's this pent-up demand. They're also a little bit more cashed up because they haven't been travelling regularly as they do. So there's a lot of opportunity to do that. So we're seeing people, yes, you're right, go longer, go higher up the ship, or book multiple cruises at one time. I was talking to a couple only a couple of weeks ago. They've got 10 cruises booked.
Wow.
Yeah, on Seabourn. So they're very, very enthusiastic to get back.
Tony, another question I must ask is the next round the world. When will that be? Is that out now, already sold for 23 or 24?
Yeah,
because
24,
the demand on world cruises has just been unbelievable. So where are you up to at this stage with that?
Yeah, so one thing with Holland America Line in particular, but Seabourn too, we're a specialist in longer cruises. Around the world cruise for 23 is sold out. Because we picked up pretty much people from the 22 and the 20 and the 21, and they moved across there. 24 will be out very, very soon. So get in quick, because there was still a bit of overflow from these 2 years as well. We're seeing, we've always done longer cruises. Outside of Alaska and the Caribbean, which is 7 days, most of our voyages are 10 days and longer.
And one of my favourites, long ones that you do, is the circumnavigations of South America. Is a favourite of mine.
60 days worth.
60 days,
yes.
And I look at the itinerary and I thought, if you ever wanted to do South America properly, do it on a Holland America, doing the circumnavigate. I mean, that is just a beautiful itinerary from start to finish.
Yes. Yeah, going into some of those amazing ports, and one of the things about South America is that it changes so much from the north to south, from the east coast to the west coast. There's just so much.
I was going to say, I don't think people realise just how big South America is, and like you say, so many countries in South America with this whole business of the whole South America, and the different countries, and the different cultures, and languages, and the food. But what a wonderful experience to do. So that's one of my bucket lists. Last question, Tony, and thank you for coming down to Adelaide. Circumnavigate of Australia is coming very popular. Yes. You had a beautiful itinerary that we were going to see this year, but it's not going to happen. Yes. So next year we'll have it for 2022.
We do. But it's full too. But 23 will be out very soon.
So 23 will come out. Okay. Yeah. Well, please let us know, because I love to tell our viewers and our listeners that if you want to see Australia, and especially people who don't want to be sort of in and out of coaches and planes, this is the way to see a lot of Australia.
Unpack once.
And I know it's an old cliche, but it's so true. Boy, it makes a big difference. And I've done train journeys up in Sweden and Norway and seen great parts of those countries. But when you see a cruise ship in the port, you go, why am I on that cruise ship? Because it just is a wonderful way. Yeah. So I want to say thank you, Tony, for coming down. We've had a great session this morning talking about 22, 23. Tony is talking about the trends of 22, is certainly the momentum. But the big message that I'd like to say to our viewers, Tony, from us, is that we're seeing it being booked up very quickly because the rest of the world has been cruising while we've been waiting to be able to cruise. Now we can in for 22 and 23. Absolutely. Don't sit and wait. Come and see us. Yep. Talk about all the benefits that we can offer you in terms of Holland America or Seabourn and all the offers that are out there at the moment, because there's a lot of bonuses, Tony, if people want to come in, and you may want to just touch on a couple before we finish up.
Well, the Holland America Line See You Soon promotion is out at the moment. You've got 6 inclusions in there. I'll see if I can actually remember them off the top of my head. But you've got the Wi-Fi, you've got a drinks package in there, you've got a meals package, you've got some shore excursions in there. And I have run out of them. There's 6 inclusions in there, so there's a lot to be thrown on there for you. And you're absolutely right about getting in early. It sounds like a bit of a sales spiel to say book early, but we've got, the whole world has been pretty much suppressed in their booking for the last 2 years. So the whole world wants to get back in cruise. And there are less ships out there at the moment. So the new one's coming, but we did retire a few ships. The whole global fleet retired a few. Yeah. So we are seeing some big sales in 22 and 23. So get in early. Don't forget, you can cancel up to 90 to 120 days prior with no penalties at all. In there, so don't be afraid to do that. There's no loss in there, but you'll secure the cabin or the stateroom or the suite that you wish to have, and then the rest of it is looking forward to it, and that's half the fun, isn't it?
Absolutely, the planning. So Tony, thank you for being available today to do this podcast. And I want to say to our viewers and that, please, if you're thinking of 22, 23, come and see us now. Come and see our consultants or ask for a brochure. Because we can then sort of get you excited about travelling, but don't leave it too late, because you'll miss out on what you want, or miss out on the cabin that you want. That's more important, is missing if you miss out. So please come and give us a call. As I said, we're excited about 22, 23, and you know, I'm looking forward to 24 to hear the world cruise as well, because one day, Tony, I want to retire and go on one of your world cruises.
I feel like I never imagine you retiring, but you're welcome on board when you do. So
thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.